Hey there guys, thanks for joining us on our board game night. Tonight we're having a look at Atelier, the Painter's Studio. This is by AEG and designed by Nicholas, and I'm going to pronounce this incorrectly, Bongia. I'll have a look over there, you can pronounce it underneath for me. This is basically a 2 to 4 player game, around about 45 minutes. And to help me with this review, I've got Dee, Carla, and myself, Jason. We're going to show you a little bit about this game so you can see what it's like to play. And if you're interested, you can go pick up a copy yourself. Alright, so this is obviously out and it's ready to buy from AEG. And we are in the 18th century as painting aficionados and so on. This is a dice action selection, so each person's got 4 dice. We've got a selection of workers, 12 workers, and we all start with 1 inspiration. We've got these cool little player boards where we can leave our paint, and it tells us our actions over here and what we can do with the inspiration. Each person is given 2 patron cards. We choose one of these. So these are mine. We'll have a look at these in a minute. And the layout, yeah, we have 7 portraits which we can paint, I suppose. And then over here we have the selection of colors. So we've got yellow, red, green, and blue. What we're doing on our turn is we're going to roll our 4 action dice. So whoever's the first player will start. So let's say I'm the first player. I roll my action dice, and then I can allocate my actions. There are different actions you can do. For example, 1 to 2, and I'm just going to dump this off so you can see. 1 to 2, you can place a student. That's where you place a student onto the paint pots. And then if you have the majority, when you do the collect paint action, you can take some of those paint. 3 allows you to move students from one paint color to another. 5 allows you to do a painting. So that's when you spend the paint from your color board to buy a portrait. And then 6 allows you to gain any paint. You just get it immediately and add it to your board. These allow you to spend inspiration. So this is a bonus action that you can do on your turn. You spend 1 inspiration, you reroll all the dice that you have left, and that'll make more sense in a minute. You can spend 2 to do a painting, so it's basically the equivalent of a 6. Or you can spend 3 to draw a new patron card. And the patrons are basically a way of scoring points at the end of the game. So they're almost like end of game goal scorers. Right, so let's have a quick look at the portraits. Portraits, obviously, have the art on there. It tells you what colors you need. So this needs 1 blue, 1 red, 1 yellow. It's worth 5 victory points. This little symbol over here is relevant to certain patrons and abilities. So for example, this actually has a name. This is post-impressionist portrait. They are impressionist, realist, and romantic are the 4 categories. And then over here it has an ability. So like this one says, on your turns you may spend 2 inspiration to gain 1 paint of any color. So that's obviously quite a decent ability. And like I said, it's worth 5 victory points. And down here some information on the actual portrait itself. The game ends when someone will reach. So some of the artwork, like this one over here, has symbols are pretty much the same, except this one here over here. You need to spend 2 blue, 2 red, and you need to return one of the students from the supply over here to your board to do this one. But this one you see underneath the name here, it says it's got a little star. That is a master paint work. And once someone has collected 4 of these master paint works, that'll signify the end of the game. We'll finish that round, play 1 more round, and that's the end of the game. And that's pretty much it. So we'll obviously explain more when we're doing the gameplay section. But it's pretty much on your turn. You roll your dice, choose some of the actions. You don't have to use all of them. So for example, in this case, I could spend that and that. Then it goes to D, then it goes to Carla, then it comes back to me. I re-roll my dice, spend an action, so we go.
You can spend all 4 at once if you really want to. It just means that you then wait for everyone else to finish their turns.
Well, exactly, yeah. Alright, so you join us for the gameplay. We've had a few rounds already. I'm going to be the first player for this starting round, as indicated by that little token over there. I've bought 1 portrait so far, which is 2 men, painted, yeah, 2 men contemplating the moon, which gave me 3 inspiration immediately, and it's worth 4 victory points at the end of the game. My patron card is this lady, or gentleman, and that's what I'm chasing after. This is what my board looks like at the moment. So I've got 6 students left in the office. I've got a stack of inspiration. Got some paints in the cupboard, and I'm about to roll my dice. Carla's got a portrait as well, some paints. Dee's got 4 portraits. How many stars you got?
Busy painting. Just 1 star.
Just one.
Masterpiece.
All right.
3 loads of crap.
So, first thing at the beginning of the round, roll some dice. So I'll aim it down so you can see. So I've rolled 2 2s, 3 and a 4. So 2s allow me to place students. 3s allow me to move one of each of our students. And it doesn't have to be from the same spot. And a 4 allows me to collect paint from where I have the majority, which at this point in time is none. So 4 is not going to be collecting any paint. I could move some students around, but as you can see, Carla's got quite a lot of students on the board. In fact, have you got any left?
No.
No, all your students are on the board, on the areas already. I could, because I've got inspiration, I could re-roll the dice, or I could paint a painting, or I could draw another patron card. Drawing a patron card would be interesting. What's this there? On your turns, you may use 2 dice to take any dice action. Cost a red and a green, so I could paint that. Woman at a toilet. That's interesting.
Toilet.
Yeah. That's just a fancy way of saying the same thing, isn't it?
No. She's literally doing like her makeup.
Oh my god. For uneducators. Women on the shitter.
I think I'm just going to bide my time, and I'm going to place a student in the yellow area over here. And then I'm going to save my dice and go over to D.
Okay, so I'll roll mine.
Triple 1 and a 6.
I can place those down. Right, what can I do? So I think I will use the 6.
Which allows him to gain any one paint.
I'll take this red one. I think I'm also then going to use lunch at the restaurant Fournaise. So once per round, I may remove a worker to take any dice action. So I'm going to remove this worker. And I'm going to use it as a 5, which is paint a painting. I'm going to paint woman on the toilette. I also have something on my terms. I can use 1 less paint colour of my choice when I paint paintings. So for 1 red, I'll paint that.
And then a new one comes out.
That's all I'm going to do at this moment.
Just remind me again, what did you use to paint the painting?
I had 1 red.
With the action.
This card, because I removed a worker.
Oh
to
yes,
take an action
that's
dice.
right. Yeah. That's you done, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Double 6. That's pretty neat. You can take whatever paint you want. Unfortunately, you can't do anything with it. You got no 5s and no inspiration. And 1 obviously allows her to put workers out, but she's used all her workers already. So that's effectively 1s and 2s are now kind of dead to her. Unless you can return them for some reason. What's your ability do? Is it spend 2 what?
Spend 2 inspiration to gain 1 painting. To gain 1 paint for any colour.
Okay.
Right, so I'm gonna take a green, a yellow, no, a blue.
to the paintings we have currently in play.
I'll trade these in for 2 inspiration.
Okay. But then,
And I can use them.
yeah, you're going to paint a painting.
Yeah. I'm going to take this one. So for 1 green, 1 red, 1 yellow.
Really wanted that one.
I mean, you've taken everything else I've wanted, so, you know, at least I get...
I've taken everything else, haven't I?
so I've spent these 2 as well, so it's done.
Ooh, that's interesting. Alright, so then it comes back over to me. As the 3 dice that I have stored from the last, I don't get to keep, like, I have to re-roll those now. So, re-roll again. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. So, I'm going to spend the 6 to gain a red. Boom. And then...
It's not interesting at all because they're rubbish for you.
Huh?
It's not interesting at all because they're rubbish for you.
Well, the 2 4s?
Yeah, because you don't have majority anywhere.
No, I got no luck out there. But I'm going to spend 2 inspiration, like Carla did now, to do a painting. And I'm going to do this one that just came out, which is when woman bathed, almost said beating.
Oh my goodness.
Woman
Woman
bathing
her feet in a brook.
That's right. So that costs 2 green, 2 red, and 1 due to be returned. It'll be you. And then it says, when painted, if you have the least paintings, gain 2 inspiration and gain 2 paint of any colors. Now, Carl and I are tied for least, so I'm not sure if it's a friendly tie, so I'm just going to check. Alright, so we've basically talking about this, so maybe someone can comment below in the video. We're not 100% sure, we can't find it anywhere in the rules, but if this is friendly ties or not. So as Carl and I are tied for the least amount of paintings, we're not sure if I get this or not. So I'm not going to retrospect this, we're just going to say, because I don't have the least, because I'm tied for the least, I don't get the reward there, but I still get the victory points, obviously.
6 points is a good amount of points as well.
So we're going to leave it at that. Obviously, if we're wrong, you can just comment below. I'm sure someone from AEG can also comment below to say if we're incorrect in that there is friendly ties and that I would have got that. That'll be cool to know. But we're going to carry on from that point onwards and see how it goes. So over to D.
Six, 1, 5. I'll take... That's 6. I'll take green. 5. I'll use to paint a painting. Still 1 cheaper. I'll use that. I'll buy this.
Boating. Ah, Carla, this one's a good one for you.
That's what I'm doing.
Now it goes to Carla, but you've already used all your dice, so that automatically skips you. Because at the beginning of your turn, if you have no dice available, then that automatically skips you to, well, basically passes your turn. So it goes to me. I've got 2 dice left, so I'm going to do that. What am I going for here? So I'm going to place that for a yellow, and then I've got a 3 who allows me to move students, or I've got 3 inspiration, so I could re-roll if I wanted to, but I'm not gonna. I think I'm. You know what? I'll hold it, see what it comes to. Over to you, D. 4.
4 to collect. So instead, I think I'm gonna use the croquet scene. Once per round, I can change an active dice into a 6. Change it to a 6. I will then gain red. Also, once per round, I can remove 1 worker to take any dice action. I'll remove that. I'll treat it as a 6. I will then take that. Another red. And then once per turn I can remove 2 workers to gain 1 paint of any colour. Gain a green.
That doesn't go there. Alright, and then it skips Carla again, goes to me because I got 1 dice left. I rolled a 3 again. God damn it.
You could re-roll.
I could.
Take over inspiration.
I could do that as well.
Or you can move people around, and there you go. That's what you can do with that dice.
Thanks for those options, fellas. Alright, you know what? I'm gonna... What do I want? So I'm gonna move. So I'm gonna move that one to there. I'm going to move this one to there. So I can move 1 of each color, effectively. So 1 of each player. And I don't have to move them from the same spot. And I can move them from the... Like, for example, I can move them all from one spot outwards or move them... It's basically move 3 people.
Just simply, just move 1 of each colour.
Yeah, and I don't have to move all 3. I think I'm going to stop because the only one I haven't moved yet is the black. So I can either add him to one of those 3 or leave him where he is. I'll just leave him where he is, as I have paint. So there we go. That's the round done.
Rotation.
Yep, first player moves to there. And go for it, dude.
New turn. New turn. Right. So I've got lots of collect paints with no students. A bit rubbish. Move. Rubbish. 5. Paint. Rubbish. So I will use... Use just that 5, I think. Which I'm not going to use that 5. I use one of those using the croquet scene, turn it into a 6. To take any colour of paint I want, I would take a green. That's all I'm going to do at that stage.
Okay. Got it.
Okay.
So, while Connor's having a quick think, one of the couple of things I haven't mentioned, this token here is for the master painter. So that person is the first person to complete 4 of the master painting stars. They get this. That also obviously signifies the end of the game. And there was something else I was going to say, which I now forgotten. No, it'll come to me. Oh yes, I think it was in conjunction with that. Obviously the end of the game is triggered by someone who has 4 of those. So at the moment I've got 2, Carla's got 0. You got 1D?
Mm-hmm.
I guess I will trade the dice for inspiration.
Okay. Is that it?
Yeah.
Alright. Over to me. Huh. So I can move, deploy students, or paint to painting. I don't have enough, I don't think, so I'm going to spend one of my inspiration. I'm going to re-roll that. You have to re-roll all the dice. No, that's a little bit better. Gives me a little more.
You have to re-roll all the dice you have left.
Yes, all your active dice. So, I think I'm going to spend this 6 for a green. Actually, I could get a green and a yellow from... Yes. So 4 is collect paint. So I'm going to spend one of those. I've got the majority in green, so I get a green from there. But I've also got the majority in yellow, so I get a yellow paint from there. I don't have the majority in red and blue, so I don't get nothing from there.
Well, you do get nothing.
Oh, yeah. And then I could, I think, what does that one do? When painted, what does this do? When painted, starting with you, each player in turn order places. Ha! That's interesting. Carla's only got 1 worker left. I don't want to allow her to freely put that down. The boating is quite interesting. So I think, well, that is worth 1 more point. So my thought process here is basically, I want to build either this, which cost me 1 green, 1 yellow, which I have, because worth 4 points, and I can put a worker down, which will be quite cool. But then they all get to put a worker down, and then I get to put additional 1. That's not bad. Or I could do this, which is another star. Joan of Arc's only worth 3 points, but on my turns I may remove workers to gain inspiration. I quite like the versatility of that. Although it does mean I have to return another worker from here as well. No, I'm going to stick with my original thought. So I'm going to spend a 5 to do painting action. I'm going to spend 1 green, 1 yellow, and I'm going to buy this. So when painted, starting with you, each player in turn order places 1 worker, then place an additional worker. So starting with me, I will place a worker there, and then D places 1. I'm also helping out D there because he has a lot of return workers to gain abilities there. And then I get to place an additional 1. I'll take the majority there. It's not bad. Alright, and then I've still got 2 dice left. I've got a 6 and a 4, so I could get more paints again, which is the majority on those 2 areas, and a 6 is whatever I want. So I might do that. So I get a green and a yellow, and I'm going to spend this to get a red. So it leaves me with some paints. So I have some options on the following round, but that's me out of dice for this game, this round.
That's useful. Wait for those. I can go and sit over there.
Just place them on the blue.
6.
Oh, and a new paint should have come out, I think. 4, 6, 7, yep.
Useful. That 6 I was going to get a paint, wasn't I? I mean, this is looking pretty contested. Might as well get some yellow while I can. I will then, once per round, I can remove 1. Just take any action. I will probably do it as a painting action. Paint this, so I can do it for 1 cheaper. Do 2 red and 1 green, I think. Paint that, which returns 1. So that's once per game, is it? And then I will got 2 left. I think at this stage I will do nothing else.
Okay. So I guess I can take red and blue.
You could do it twice, obviously.
Mm-hmm. Red and blue. Yeah, okay. So I'll take the blue and I will do it again. And
I take it that's going to end your turn.
no.
Oh, you're going to use it to get an inspiration.
I'm going to use it to get an inspiration. And then I'm going to spend 2 inspirations to paint that.
So 3 blue, 3 red. Have to return 2 workers. And what does it do?
When painted, draw a patron card. You must put 1 of your patron cards on the bottom of the...
Oh, so it's basically give you a different choice of a patron on your turn.
So you want to keep your original of that.
So while she's thinking of that, it goes to me. I'm done. Goes to you.
I'm done.
And you're done. And then you're done. So that'll end of the round. and then first player moves on to Carla.
I don't want it.
You don't want it? Okay. And we continue. So at this point, there's still only 2 stars, 1 star, 2 stars. So we've got a couple more rounds to go. We'll be back when we're done. Alright, so we've tallied up the points and we've finished the game. Just to mention, obviously I'll put notes in the credits, but it's 3 of the Master Stars, not 4. I completed the 3rd one, which gave me the Master's extra bonus points. That final round. I did that with my first action, so that played out that round plus the following round. We've tallied up the points. In 3rd place is Carla with 40 points. In 2nd place is me with 49. I went for a potluck patron card on the last, and it did nothing for me. So with a bit of luck, I would have worked like his one did.
Well, yeah, I went the potluck patron card on the last turn and got me 6 points, and it won me the game on 53.
Yeah. So there you go. That is how you play Atelier, the Painter Studio from AEG. We'll have a little discussion quickly in a minute, but just to tell you, if you follow the link in the description below, that'll take you to my 5-minute thoughts. And yeah, so here we go. Let's have a chat. What did you think, Dee?
I think the game is okay. The reason why I say okay is it's not a bad game. It has really simplistic rules. I think it's really easy to follow. We were thinking about games it reminds you of, theme wise. It's a game about painting pictures. I was thinking of potentially things like Final Touch, and so you're saying about Fresco.
Yep.
But it still feels completely different. In terms of the actual gameplay side of things, I said that it reminds me a little bit of Splendor. The reason why I say Splendor is we could happily have sat here for an hour and not said anything to each other. And the only thing that would have been happening is, oh, you just stole the card I wanted. And then you just continue to grumble your way through an hour. I thought this is the 2nd time that we've played it as us 3. I think interesting that when I played this one, I went a completely different route. The first time I just tried to get the star ones as quickly as possible and try and end it. While this one I went for a lot of the abilities, and that really helped me because I could do so much more with my dice, and the fact that as with all the paint pots, all of my students are sitting here. I don't have any because I kept on removing them from the board because I could gain loads of extra benefits from it. So
it's a much less frustrating way of gaining paint.
Oh yeah,
because
it was so easy because I didn't care what you guys had on the board. It's just a case of I'll use my 1s and 2s, I'll put them on the boards, and then I'll just remove them to gain what I want. I could use 1 dice as a 6 every single turn, so I could just take 1 colour. I could remove 1 person to take any dice action, which was a 6 to gain any 1 paint. I could return 2 people to gain a paint of my choice. So by having 3 people out, I could then basically get 3 paints of whatever I wanted.
Yeah.
And that enabled me
the one that had 1 less paint as well. That was really useful.
Yeah, and I had one which was to paint everything for 1 less paint, which then made it so much simpler when I was finding it quite easy to get 2 or 3 paints every single turn. Is the only thing which was becoming a little bit of an issue is once I was removing everybody, I had to rely on rolling 1s and 2s to get more of the students onto the board, because if I didn't have them on the board, my mechanism completely falls down. And that's where I think a part of this game falls down, is because it's so vital with what you do with these actions that the randomized dice roll, if you get a bad couple of turns of dice rolls, your game will be, 1, really, really dull, really boring, very frustrating. I suppose people will say, oh, it's a game which has got dice and you should be prepared to do that, but in this sort of game, you literally have just 4 dice. It's not like you're rolling like 10, 15 dice where you can mitigate it. There's only 4 dice that you're using, and yes, you can use them to give yourself the inspiration tokens, but I don't feel it mitigates it enough. And I think that is it's a bit of a shame, and I kind of feel like that takes away a lot from the game. That dice rolls can really ruin the gaming experience for you.
Well, it's supposed to be a very light game, and you're supposed to just play through it pretty quickly. The problem is, like what you were saying there, is like the inspiration tokens, which you could spend any dice to get these. So they're easy to get, and you can use them immediately as well. But it's all they do is allow you to re-roll all your dice. So it's still playing into the luck factor of I roll the dice, I didn't get what I need, I'll spend this, roll the dice again, I didn't get what I need.
Yeah.
I'll spend this,
It's
roll
like
the
that,
dice again.
Like on the board, you can use 1 to re-roll, 2 to paint a painting, or 3 to draw a new patron card. That's great, but I know people say about statistics and odds and all this, that, and the other, and all the maths behind it. But if you do not roll a particular number which is really useful to yourself for multiple turns, you can't compete. It's as simple as that. When it comes to the fact that you could put loads and loads of workers down here and you could have the majority in everything, unless you get 4s or 6s to either collect from all the stuff that you've got or pick up paints, you can do nothing. Doesn't matter who's on there. It means nothing.
I found the this little area majority thing over here. I found this quite frustrating because on your turn you spend your actions, which in an action economy game, you spend your actions to put your stuff down, and then when the time comes around to you when you want to spend a 4, hope to roll a 4, it's all changed because other people have moved you around.
Yeah.
They've added more workers to it, so you're just spending time adding more workers, moving them around, and in the hope that it can come back to you, that you can get resources. Whereas I found like what you do there is the only way I would want to play this, or trying to roll 6s, is just to get the paints directly rather than constantly fight for the majority, because the fighting for majority is frustrating.
But one thing I do really like about is literally the underpowered strength of 3, which is move students, because that can really heavily manipulate so many things on here as well. And I like having like a manipulation ability in many games anyway. To be able to tie people up, to then be able to gain a majority here, or to just completely wipe people out all over the show and really frustrates other people. But that's the only real interaction that's on there.
And it's quite a frustrating interaction.
And I think thematically as well, like we're saying about the theme of it and being a painter, I must be just not seeing something. But we are painters. We are sending our students out to go and get the paint. So I'm going to send this guy out. Hello, Mr. Worker. Can you go and get me some red paint? And he goes over here and he joins the queue. And because there's 4 purple bullies, and they're like, no, you can't have any red paint. And until they disappear, you can't have any red paint. I'm not sure about the thematic side of things, whether it's there's a long queue and he has to wait until everyone's disappeared, which doesn't happen in this game. Thematically, I don't get why you're sending workers to these places. I'm sure there's some reason which maybe the guys who made the game could probably tell you, but in my mind, I'm like, that makes no sense whatsoever.
I think this made it feel like you were treading water constantly. It's the main mechanic in the game, is to get the paint to paint the paintings, and you felt like you were constantly treading water. So essentially, I'm here, I want to get yellow, I can't get yellow this turn, okay, I'll have to wait the next turn. So I roll my 4 dice and I get enough to actually go here. Oh no, I can't, because now there's too many of whoever else's
I've now got enough
workers
people,
are there.
but I'm not able to now collect the paints, for example.
Yeah.
I've now got those people there, but they're all standing at that till going, hi, we're here for yellow paint. Oh, that'd be £1 each, please. Okay, I'll wait a turn. And then someone else put all their stuff there, like that majority anymore.
You know what frustrates me about that is like when you roll like oh, I'll deploy some workers onto that area. I'll I've got it ready now. All I need is to roll majority, and then you go on your turn and you go, oh, roll a 6. I'll just take that yellow I need.
All of that work for nothing.
Yeah, and I'll be like, ugh. And then you go buy the paint that I wanted in the first place.
And obviously the funniest thing is, statistically, you're likely to roll that number the same.
Yeah.
Because it's just a 4 or a 6 to either collect paint or to take a paint.
Yeah.
Obviously the collect paint means that you can possibly get multiple, depending on obviously majorities and stuff. But yeah, so I found that part just, I couldn't get it thematically. And yes, it's frustrating. In this game, I didn't have to worry about it because I went a completely different route, which I feel worked really well. But yeah.
But I think you need to be quite lucky to get that mechanic working. So.
It's pure skill.
Yeah. The fact that the mechanic that he got working this time, I attempted to do the same thing, and I just couldn't get the paints to get the paintings to allow me to do that. So. And again, it's because you're limited to 4 dice and you're limited to the dice roll. So there are things to mitigate that, like we said, but I think, I don't know, I just felt like it was too hard work for something that's supposed to be a light game. And what upsets me is I like this theme, I like the artwork, I think there's some really nice little things without...
Components are really nice.
Yes, the components are really nice.
Production's very good.
The palette as your kind of, your player board is, well, it's really well set out. Even the shapes of the little,
little
wooden
students.
tokens and the students are interesting. Each painting is an actual painting, and it tells you what year it was painted, by who, whether it is a master painter, and where it's currently being housed. Like this one's from the Art Institute of Chicago. So it's really interesting. It's really pretty. It looks and feels like what the designer was trying to bring through, that kind of period, or that style of game comes through really nicely. I feel like they've got all the right types of components, and the look of the game is very aesthetically pleasing for people that like this style of art, which I do. I think it's very, very pretty for the style. Not everybody's cup of tea.
Well, I'm the
Absolutely.
opposite. I don't like this kind of style.
Jason doesn't particularly like these type of...
But I'm a very Luddite when it comes to these sort of things. I like my plain and simple.
But you wouldn't go to an art museum as a fun day out, whereas I would.
No, yeah, exactly, yeah.
So that's the difference. So there's so many elements to this game that is lovely, and I think it's still a game worth playing, and it was enjoyable for the most part. I'm not great at dice. Dice don't like me, and I don't care what anybody says. That's how I feel when I play games. And when there is so much luck based, and the things to mitigate that kind of luck element is slow forming, it feels like I'm just trudging through, and it sucks the enjoyment out a little bit for me. I've played it twice. I'll probably try and play it one more time just to, I don't know. I like the theme. I like the game. It's like a niggle, really. What keeps it from being like genuinely enjoyable was just that element of, I don't know, luck, I guess.
It's interesting because it's not the first time I've said this on a video before as well, but me and Jason have come from wargaming background where dice is everything. Yeah. And we embrace the fact that it's like, I really need a 4. I'll do everything I can just to reroll this one dice because I believe I'm going to get a 4. And you get a 4, or you don't get a 4. And you're like, damn it! And you get really pumped up. And then you've got people like Carla, and like some of the other people on the channel that haven't come from that background, and it is always the same sort of thing, isn't it? It's always a case of the dice really frustrate me because too much random comes out of that. While we're like, dice, let's just chuck some dice and see what happens. I can't believe I haven't done this before, and we just take it in our stride and just deal with it.
But it's a personality thing, though, isn't it? And I think that there's nothing wrong with that. The problem I have with this particular game is that the people that do the random play are also not the people that go stand in a museum looking at paintings. There is, I'm, this is my opinion. I'm not saying that it is fact, but I just feel like I like a little bit more structure. I like to know that I can definitely do something in a turn. That's not the game's fault. That is me as a player and what I prefer. I think that is the big thing. I think Jason and Dee, people that love dice. I love dice. That's the other thing. I want to like the dice better than what I actually do. I do also like the muted colours, ironically. I know this seems like an odd thing to say, but the colours are not, like the player colours are not bright. They do remind me of like the actual pigment that they used in the time period as well. I love it. I love aesthetically this game is incredibly pleasing for me.
And also, that's probably because they didn't want to make it the same colours as full paints.
Yeah, the primary colours.
I mean, it's fair enough, but I do think if you do a little bit of research in terms of like the oranges, the burnt ambers and things, I can't remember but how they created those pigments, you didn't get bright colours like that necessarily. So it's interesting. I like it.
I want to talk about quickly a couple of things that I do like. I like the patron cards. I like the idea of the end of game scoring stuff.
secret.
Yes. I wish there wasn't a way of buying them with these inspiration tokens, because I feel like what happened in our game there is it's too easy on your last turn to just go, screw it, I'll spend 3 dice and draw a lucky shot, get 10 points.
Halfway through the game, when I saw I had a good amount of points and I already knew I had 10 points for this card, I was thinking at one point, let's just go for a few turns in a row. From my 4 dice, I'll use one of them for whatever, I'll spend 3, get a card, and just fish through and get loads and loads of cards, because I reckon between, if I'd have picked up another 3 or 4 cards, just from what I'd already painted at that stage, I'm sure I would have picked up like another 10 points.
Yeah.
10, 15 points.
I feel like if they're going to include that sort of mechanic, it should be in a painting that you get as a reward.
Yeah.
It's too easy to just do that. I mean, yes.
But then do you not think that maybe that is part of the balancing of the game, where if at a certain point, like without joking now, at the end of when Jason had basically ended the game, so we had essentially 2 full turns, that turn and another turn left. I had 3 paintings on the board, right, and one of them was worth hardly anything. I earned my last, well, half my points in that last 2 turns by sheer luck. So I feel like that mechanic is to allow people that have just not been very lucky to try and kind of mitigate that.
I mean, maybe. I mean, it
is still luck.
It's going to lead. It was going to lead to my next point, which is, I think, based on our comments, that this game is not really suited to our style of play. I think it's a very light, supposed to be quick, but because we're more strategic and tactical players,
we're super competitive.
Yes.
That's the thing. We're super competitive.
And we're looking for strategy and tactics to try and
maybe too analytical as well.
Yeah, and I don't think this game is aimed at us, because we're trying to look at a situation where I know I can do this to win the game, and then someone just goes, "Look, I rolled 2 6s. I've got this paint. I bought this paint," and you're like, "What? I've been planning that action for 2 rounds now." Or I've worked it out. I've got 49 points. D's got 46. I know I can win this, even if he gets. And he goes, "I'll just draw this top card. Ha 4 points. I win." And it's like, what? No. And then this frustrating part here as well. I know that this, I think, even above everything I've just said, I think this will even frustrate lighter gamers, because this is very frustrating. It's I'll place my worker there. I'm going to spend my 2 dice. I'll place this there. I've got majority. Carla goes, I've rolled a 2.
I've rolled a 3. You can tie there now.
Yeah, and it's just like, ugh. Or it's like she's got a 2 left on her thing, and she's like, you know what? I'll just dump a last guy in there just because I can. End around, and you're like, ugh. Right.
And that's the thing with putting things in there. Unless if you already have majorities elsewhere, or you're not going to gain any majorities, you do stuff to stop other people.
Yeah.
It's just a case of, I'll put it there because it means that you don't have a majority anymore, even if you're not even interested in it.
And I feel like that's negative interaction. I mean, the
That
interaction
might be part of the whole being too analytical about things, but
Maybe,
we mitigate each other's games simply because we can, whereas a casual gamer might not even consider doing that.
You might not even do that on purposely. You could just do it by accident because you're trying to do your thing.
No, of course, but like I put people in several times just for the sake of, well, now this one's not going to have majority. I wasn't trying to be mean. It's just if I mitigate you getting red, then it slows you down, which gives me a chance to catch up.
I mean, overall, it's not a game for me, and I would probably not going to keep this. So for me, I think I'd probably give it maybe a 5.5 out of 10. You?
5.
5. You got it?
I don't like giving ratings.
That's not a keeper for you, is it?
It's not a keeper, and mostly because it frustrates me. I think that's the big thing. If not for that frustration, I would have kept it because I actually think it's beautiful. I'd recommend this for people that like the art scene and that are much lighter gamers.
Yeah. All right, cool. A reason why I'm hurrying up towards the end is we've been talking for 20 minutes now. And that's just how it's talking. All right, thanks for watching. Appreciate the support. Check the 5-minute thoughts. See you guys later.